Hello, everybody, and welcome to Full Circle Analog, taking place from our quarantined home quarters here in our dining room back at home. With all the craziness that has been going on, I got a hankering to sit down and film a podcast with Dad and ask you a little bit about your thoughts about everything that's going on, as well as if anything in the last 60 years has happened that's even remotely like this, because I know nothing exactly like this has ever happened, but anything you can think of that's kind of like this, or at the very least some things that you like to do during this time when we're supposed to stay home.
Well, there has never been anything like this in my lifetime. Probably just about 20 years ago, 9/11. Right after 9/11 happened, it was very creepy feeling. Even though it was in New York, it was isolated to one place. All of a sudden, all the airplanes were out of the sky. They grounded all the airplanes. And we had just moved into where we're at right now. We just moved here like 2-3 weeks before.
And I was roughly 3 years old at the time.
You were as tall as this table.
I was one of the last generations that actually has a passing memory of it.
Huh. So that would be the closest as far as just being scared, not knowing if it was safe to go out, if there other incidents were going to happen. It seemed clear after a short time, though, that it was isolated to, fortunately and unfortunately, a couple areas, because we know the story. Washington.
It was an attack.
The Pentagon, and out in the field in Pennsylvania. And
as
build
opposed to a virus.
Trade towers, World Trade Center towers 1 and 2. But as far as pandemics go, we've had a few, but they didn't really affect us in this country.
I mean, I remember the swine flu and bird flu and all sorts of flus. They were mostly when I was in elementary school.
Yeah, they talked about them, but they didn't affect us at all. SARS, MERS, H1N1.
Well, yeah, without giving too much information, I did get an MRSA infection from, I think, a public pool. Don't go to public pools with injuries, kids. When I was like 10, that was fun. Right. I vividly remember that summer. That was fun. But so otherwise, yeah, they have mostly skipped us over.
The polio vaccine. I mean, we all get vaccinated. These days, that seems to be a question, but it's not a question to me. Yeah. You'd be very dangerous to not vaccinate yourself in this world we live in.
Which I'll tangent on here in a minute. But
the polio vaccine, Dr. Jonas Salk, I believe is his name, perfected the vaccine in 1955, just 6 months before I was born. So that was a big deal because polio was a very crippling disease. I have a friend, Joe, who is a polio survivor. And from polio to whooping cough to there's a lot of different things that in early to mid 20th century they were going through things like this. It wasn't.
It's funny you mentioned.
It was probably
that, yeah.
In various places, or it was across the country. I couldn't be expert on that, but I've heard stories from my wife's grandfather. Well, through my wife. And I've heard him talk directly to me about some things, but my wife has related several stories about, being in quarantine with whooping cough. That was a cough that basically wouldn't stop.
Yes.
And you could suffocate from it. And their house was like a quarantine house many times over for various things.
It's funny what this reminds me of is the opposite of this is smallpox parties, or whatever they were called, chickenpox parties, or whatever. When somebody in the neighborhood would get chickenpox or smallpox, and then you'd have everybody come over to them and sneeze and cough or whatever, so that everybody would get the pox and then therefore be immune to it. Talk about the opposite response to what we're getting now, which is stay home, don't give it to anybody until we can develop a vaccine, which I've heard some countries are already working on. Well, obviously, every country is working on it, but I've heard some countries are getting closer to creating a vaccine for it.
It's funny you mentioned the pox. I never got chicken pox. There was no vaccination for it when I was a child. My best friend got it when we were in elementary school, I believe. And so I didn't see him. He was quarantined at home. We didn't go to the same school, but he went to Catholic school and I went to public school, but at that time. But he, 2 weeks, I think he was out. I didn't see him for 2 weeks. We talked on the phone.
Oh, boy.
And he lived across the street from me. So next thing you know, about 3 weeks later, my dad got it. And he was 40-some years old then. And one thing I learned real quick is you, as an adult, you don't want chickenpox. It about killed him.
Oh, boy.
I think it killed him emotionally, not more than physically, but he was in rough shape.
Yeah, geez, I can imagine.
He broke out all over, and he couldn't shave for like 3 weeks or more. He looked like a homeless person.
You look like a hobo.
Kind of. But, that's probably the one quarantine situation that I personally can relate to, that my best friend got chickenpox, and I couldn't see him for several days. And next thing I know, my dad got it, so I must be a carrier for these things, like with what's going on right now. They're saying it's spread by, they think it's spread mainly by people that aren't going to get it.
Yeah, people my age, they say.
They're passing it on. Yeah. And but I've never seen the United States in a situation where it's virtually shutting down. I mean, we live in Southern California. We live east of Los Angeles in San Bernardino County. And as of today, pretty much everything that isn't, food or government office
or GameStop
or pharmacy is shut down.
Don't even get me started on GameStop.
It was kind of goofy and weird to go to the market over the last 5 days, because this whole thing started 5 days ago. As far as I had to go to the supermarket. There's a pharmacy in the supermarket. I had to pick up something. And then I got a call from my wife saying, you better get down there because we're hearing the markets are crazy. People are starting to buy necessities.
And I didn't truly believe that was happening here.
No, I didn't either.
And I remember Mom at work had sent me a text and said, hey, if you need anything, let me know. I'm going to the market. And I said, I jokingly made a comment of like, I needed tea because at the time, ironically, I got sick. Not coronavirus, definitely. There was no respiratory issue. It came and went. But I needed tea to help with my sinuses. And I said, hey, take a picture in the toilet paper aisle for me, because I'd heard the jokes at that point.
Right.
And you came home with some stuff, and you said it was crowded. And then Mom came home, and she hadn't gone to the store, and the look in her eyes was just not fear, but like that, an adjacent emotion. And I was like, okay, so people are taking this a lot more seriously than I am. And from that point on, I took it one day at a time, but I kind of bunkered down and started to take it seriously.
From the Friday a week ago, from the time of this shooting, to today, I've been to the market several times, not of my own will, but
because we kind of
stock up for the family. And I went from just the bare bones necessities, toilet paper, things you've heard about, toilet paper, disinfectant, paper towels, were wiped out. They were sold out. Bottled water. The cheap brand that Vaughn's carried, whoops, I said Vaughn's, it doesn't matter.
Oh, we're in SoCal.
Which is the supermarket here, one of the many.
I mean, if Vaughn's wants to sponsor us.
Everything else was in stock, but it was the toilet paper, paper towels, paper products, disinfectant was gone. And
disinfectant has been gone for a couple weeks now, ever since there was hints of a virus. And then, to answer any questions at home, from what I understand, the toilet paper epidemic is caused by just word of mouth, very literally. People were packing, what I heard was people were packing doomsday shelters, and then everybody heard that toilet paper was gone, and by word of mouth, toilet paper became a commodity because people thought it was gone and thought it was leaving, so people kept hoarding it. Means the recording's done. Give us just a moment here.
We'll be back.
Hello, we're back.
We're back.
because of the nature of the camera I use, we have to film in 10-minute segments here. But
we don't have to.
We were just talking
cut that
about.
part out. Anyway.
Yeah, we were just talking about the nature of toilet paper and everything that's out here as a result of this quarantine. It is kind of funny. I will admit this is a time not to completely shut down hilarity because
to finish this 1 week period of time. What I was just talking about was a week ago today. The last time I was at the store, what really hit me was, the paper products are still gone, but it looked to me at first, I started in the produce section and they had just stocked it and it looked normal. But as I moved from left to right across the store, every aisle had a section or an entire aisle gone. And that kind of freaked me out.
Yeah, understandably so.
All the soup was gone versus just the chicken noodle soup from a week ago. All the soup, every can of soup was gone.
Yeah.
And all the bottled water was gone.
Oh, boy.
And then all of it. And then I got all the way down to the other end of the store, and all the bread was gone.
So tap water should be safe to drink. I'm pretty sure it's not waterborne. But
no,
I am not an epidemiologist. And also, this is a good blanket statement. If you want any information regarding the coronavirus, COVID-19, or procedures to avoid it, or what you should do, look to the CDC website. The Center for Disease Control's website.
CDC.org, I believe it is.
I went to urgent care for another issue about 2 weeks ago now. And the nurse there assured me that the only accurate and up-to-date information will be on the CDC's website.
At first I thought it was just a big panic, and now I'm not so sure.
Who's mowing their lawn?
The numbers, I don't know. The numbers might have been a car.
Might have been.
The numbers, the news media I was blaming because it seemed like they were creating hysteria.
Which they were. It's profitable.
And
unfortunately.
But now it's just like, okay, we're prepared. We're doing, I run a home business. And fortunately, I got a substantial amount of orders just before the quarantine hit.
And I work in pizza delivery, so we've been more busy than ever. But thankfully, to all you generous people out there, my tips are significantly better. So it's working out, and we are taking extraordinary safety precautions. I keep a bag of gloves that I use for I take new disposable gloves for every delivery. We use disposable gloves, and we don't handle credit cards anymore, so we just put the machine in front of you. So we're taking all the precautions we can, and we're staying safe down here, but we're looking to limit the spread. I mean, because I got sick 2 weeks ago and better subsequently 4 days later, I've been self-quarantining for a couple weeks now, so I got some practice, but I found it hard to, kind of keep my head on straight. I've been anxious and upset the last couple days, but today I went for a jog outside and ironically encountered more people in that one single jog than I did in the previous 3 weeks, but, kept 6 feet away like the governor, the California governor right now recommends.
Governor Newsom.
Governor Newsom recommends keeping 6 feet away from people in public, and so I did that, and getting outside and keeping to a routine has helped me substantially. In fact, that's what I did today. I went for a jog, came back, did my gym workout, but at home, and then took a shower, and now we're here. So
the other thing I thought of just now, Alec, was the Great Recession, which you did live through.
2008.
Oh
boy, yeah, that's a whole nother.
I was in a situation where a corporate buyout got laid off from it, and with a severance package, because I'd worked there for many years. Company that bought us out was very fair, and then the Great Recession hit, and because so many people were laid off, and I was at the front end of that.
Yeah, I remember.
It wasn't directly because of it, but I was laid off before that hit.
And if I recall correctly, we could have moved to like Nevada or something, and you could have kept your job. But at the time, it was not feasible.
It wasn't
or
really an option. And they increased unemployment benefits in California.
Remember, you having a lot of conversations
and they extended it
that,
for up to 99 weeks. I was known back then as one of the 99ers. and that was, I couldn't get work. Right now, nobody can work. This is what reminds me of the Great Recession. Is I was trying to get work, and nobody would hire then someone my age for anything, And people.
And I mean, even now, I find not just you, but people my age have a hard time finding a job.
Because, well, as work became available, people my age started taking jobs that were traditionally summer jobs for first-time workers, first-time employees. So many of us, our first job was working in a restaurant or fast food or delivery service. I mean, I worked in a seafood restaurant, my first job when I was 16.
Half the people 17. I work with are like double my age. One of the ladies who delivers pizzas with me is, I would say, probably your age, if not a little bit older. And the other side being, I would say there's probably a 20-year age gap. There's another guy who works with me who's my age, and another guy who since I think he got transferred to a different pizza location, but he was probably 30-ish, and that was it. And so it's definitely a trend that's kept up. Yeah. In fact, I think one of the reasons I actually got the job was because I took the old-fashioned approach and walked in and asked if they were hiring, and they were. I got lucky. And then she told me to submit the application online, but if you don't hear it from us, call. And I did. And so I kept up that pressure and then eventually got the job. So I think that's a unique situation still. I mean, gosh, don't even get me started. Now that you're actually mentioning it, I don't think anything's been the same since 2008.
Right.
I mean, I was half of my age in 2008, so I wasn't I wasn't very intelligent at the time. But now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think anything's been the same.
No.
The issues I'm struggling with now, I feel like, started in 2008. So
that's a whole subject unto itself.
Oh yeah, we could talk for hours about
the cost of living and a living wage, and that started to change for me back in 1978. Which is way before you were born, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse.
If you want more information on it, I believe Robert Reich has a former what was his position?
He was
the financial advisor at the White House, right?
I don't know what his exact post was, but he was an advisor to Clinton.
Yes, a financial advisor specifically, and he especially on his Facebook page, but he also has documentaries out there. He can tell you a lot more about all of this, but I think
he created policy that he gave to President Clinton that he thought would be
economically beneficial for the country,
for everybody.
And I believe he teaches at the University of California, Berkeley, right now.
Yeah, he's in California.
Yes, he is a professor now.
Yeah. He's all over social media.
Yes, he is very vocal about his continued policies. But the point in saying this all is this is causing huge ramifications for the economy at large that I think are going to shake the country forever. Because all sorts of layoffs and understanding of how important being a grocery store stalker is, like how important the people who just bag groceries are right now when the grocery markets have no parking and are out every 3 hours. It's bringing to light how important these positions are, and how little people can afford to just not work.
Right. In one state, they're classified store employees as emergency workers to get
benefits,
some sort of benefit or something. I don't know.
I believe they get access to health care and benefits and either a pay raise or something like that, but it's to help protect them during this time,
right?
So that they don't get the virus and spread it to people because they have to keep working. And
even you need to be careful when you make your deliveries.
Which is why I said we keep disposable gloves, and I put them on for a delivery, and then I get back in my car and I take them off and throw them away when I get back. And we're taking advanced precautions. And I believe I'll have to look it up again, but I believe somebody I follow on Twitter shared an article from one of the Times that talked about, yes, food delivery is safe. It's currently not known to exist within food. One of it's not foodborne. Food delivery is safe, especially contactless food delivery, which, by the way, look into your favorite food delivery places to see if A, they're still delivering, and B, if they're offering contactless delivery and how to get that. A lot of places are offering to just drop it at your doorstep, no signature, no nothing required. They drop it off, you go out and pick it up, and therefore nobody has to touch it. Yes, food and other such amenities.
Something you said I was talking about.
You got a text.
That the pharmacies are going to deliver.
Which
So
CVS already does, I know, but I'm sure I've never utilized it, but now might be a good time.
Crazy.
I'm sure that pharmacists are under a lot of stress right now. And if any of you out there are emergency service workers or people who just have to stay open during this time, we salute you. I mean, believe you me, I understand. I have to break quarantine to go out and deliver food. But we salute you for your continued perseverance in this strange and trying time.
Right. So.
Could you check your microphone for me? Make sure it's still on. It got slipped. Okay. As long as the button's still on. It just got slipped. Okay. Yeah, so how are you entertaining yourself during this time? Because I know how I am, and I'll cover that in a minute. But
Well, I haven't felt like entertaining myself much. I do my home office, and as our fans know and our friends know, that we digitize old technology, and I've got a bunch of orders that I've been working on, and interestingly enough, I just moved my office home just before all this happened.
yeah, so we had good timing.
I've spent a great deal of time trying to set up to accommodate that at home, and that's taken up a lot of time. But this past week has just been, like Alec said earlier, taking it almost hour by hour, day by day.
Because, I mean, especially
running to the store, running an errand here.
Especially if you're on Twitter like me, you hear all sorts of things from all over the place. And I haven't been saying a lot because I've been trying to vet the information I get.
Right.
Because I hear, like, California governor says it's safe to go outside. And then the next day, California governor is quarantining everyone. And the next day, California governor says cases are expected to number 8,000 within a week. And I'm like, oh, come on. And most of it, really doesn't matter. The important thing is to listen to what the state's saying, and also to stay home as much as you can, wash your hands for 20 seconds with soap and water, and avoid contact with anybody who has an impacted immune system, because whether or not you're carrying it, you may not know.
It's unimaginable that this could go on for months or even several weeks, because right now it's kind of like, well, it's different. It's because it's new and it's different. You kind of joke around maybe. But
like I said, I think that's where the toilet paper thing came from.
Yeah, and even this morning, without going into it, I was I have a mailbox, in a
private institution,
in a postal annex, and I was going to meet a client, and she wanted to meet outside because she was elderly and didn't want to be exposed to anything, and as it turns out, when I got there, the lobby was closed because of this whole circumstance. We were going to meet outside anyway, but there were people outside that were getting a little upset that they couldn't access their mailbox. This is a very unique situation where there's a lot of companies that have postal annex. There's another one in town, but they have a setup where you can walk in their building. They have chain those kind of doors, not doors, but those kind of, it's like a storage or, door that comes down in malls and shopping malls when they close up.
Yeah.
Except they're see-through because they almost look like prison
bars. They're the ones with the rectangular chain links. Yes.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing they have inside the postal annex and stuff, but in this one place. But where my post box is, it's a lobby of a business, and they're trying to figure out
what the heck to do.
What to do so people can come in and get their mail, because you can't just come down at any time. Of course, right now, jobs, who knows? Things are so weird right now. They'll be curious to see, I think for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, for the rest of March, things are going to be like they are right now. Maybe we'll see.
I would agree. If I had to give my unprofessional opinion, I would say this is going to last in its current state through March. And then April, we'll see a lot more developments. I doubt we're just going to go into quarantine and then not hear anything for 3 weeks. Right. I think that something's going to come out in that time.
I sure hope so. But I'm also reading, it depends on what you believe, but I'm reading that things might stay the same for months, which is unimaginable.
Which is also why I said I'm taking everything a day at a time, and I'm paying attention to the CDC website, which is all based on the now.
Go ahead.
Yeah, most of these kind of illnesses will last for a time, and then what we're trying to do now by staying home and staying healthy is to what's called flattening the curve, which is a similar amount of people will get infected, but over a much larger period of time, which gives professionals a time to act, a time to research a vaccine without using resources to help people who are currently sick, which gives people time to set up not sick camps, but you get the point, like emergency hospitals for people exclusively with COVID, and other such precautions over a period of time. How long that period of time is, I'm not certain. I believe I would say probably over a couple weeks. Yeah. But because viruses can spread exponentially if you give them the opportunity to. And what we're trying to do now is sort of, not give it the opportunity to.
Right. I think we should segue into what we'd like to do, maybe online with pictures, photographs, whatever. But I had one thought. I'm going to edit that. One thought that what was similar. I didn't finish my thought about when I got laid off, because the economy tanked because of the Great Recession. They extended unemployment for 99 weeks. They upped the amount, and that was to help those that were unemployed or laid off, at least paid some of the bills. Right now you're seeing in Washington with Pelosi and Mitch McConnell and President and the White House team trying to come up with a finance plan to get money to individuals as well as other places. And that is so much like what happened in the Great Recession.
Because a lot of people are unemployed now.
That was not motivated. That was, can't think of the word, implemented rather quickly. And but there was a lot of paperwork that had to be involved. But right now, every day things are changing. Every minute you get we found out today that the tax deadline is being moved from April 15th to July 15th.
Wow,
that's unheard of.
You're telling me?
I just got a text a while ago that if
the IRS is not
you're unable to come get your prescriptions, we will deliver them. Please call us and we'll set it up.
I mean, one of our hometown coffee shops here is offering free meals to children. They can only make it to go, but free meals to children and free drinks and meals to service workers. So to help ease this burden in the time. So, coming back here for our final video recording and audio part of this session of the podcast, I think it's time we wrap it up. As a quick summary, like I've said, you can get not up to the moment, but up-to-date, factual, objective information from the Center for Disease Control's website. I can't remember if it's cdc.org or cdc.gov, so I won't link you, but in the description of this podcast, there will be a link to it. And other things, continue to entertain yourselves during this strange time, but also keeping a routine has been shown to help. Like, even getting up at a similar time every day, planning your breakfasts and maybe doing a workout or whatever, just keeping a routine of getting up and going to sleep around the same time helps with mental health. And washing your hands with hot water and soap for 20 seconds is a great way to help keep yourselves healthy. Avoiding contact with people, also a great way to do it. And also in these times, we're often socially isolated, and that can be kind of a bummer. But if you've discovered any interesting stories or updates that you think you want to share with people, we are always open. You can send us information to info@odnws.com. That's odnws.com, and we can take those and we'll start sharing them on our Facebook page, or you can specify if you don't want to, but we'll start sharing more stuff on our Facebook page to help, engage people, keep people connected in this interesting time.
My business for the last 10 years has been nostalgia. Old photographs, old video, old audio recordings of family. and it's covered a wide range of clients' personal lives. I really connect with nostalgia. As a child, we're talking about those of you who are parents, grandparents, or young adults old enough to watch this podcast or video, YouTube, and probably be on podcasted as well. But been through a lot. I grew up in the 60s, and when I was a mere 6 years old, John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and everything stopped. That was one day everything stopped. Later on, it was his brother Bobby and Martin Luther King. I lived through that. We lived through Southern California was on the map in 1971 with the Sylmar earthquake. That was a 6.1 earthquake or something like that ripped up Southern California. Then we had the Northridge quake in the 80s, and we haven't had a big one since. That may be debatable, but there's been a few. Went through the Nixon years and Watergate, survived that, grew up with the Vietnam War. So in my 60 plus years, I've seen quite a bit. We're only in the beginning of what's going on now. It's uncharted territory for everybody. But, we've survived everything else the boomer generation has. I mean, look at what our parents' generation lived through. World War I, World War II, the Great Depression. I think the Great Depression might even be the closest to what we're moving into right now. But we survived that too. And right now, I think it's just a time to take a deep breath. And what we want to do here is open up our web page, our Facebook page, to comments and photographs if you have them, pictures, stories. We'll be posting quite a bit about it ourselves, reminiscing and this and that. But wanted to take the time to kind of get a little personal about what's going on here from Old Days, New Ways perspective, and Brad and Alec.
The old days to the new ways.
That's right.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again in the next episode.
Absolutely.
And stay safe out there and take care. Like Dad said, we've gotten through everything until now, so we'll get through this too.
Over and out.
Over and out.